Well, thank you, John, for serving our nation. And we've had some real exciting times since you retired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially what happened last week in Venezuela.
Yeah, very, very interesting times indeed. And there's been certainly some partisan political discussion about all of that, and there's been some influence from the international community. But what I will say about the operation in Venezuela, from a military standpoint, executed almost flawlessly. Very impressive to see so much of the joint force brought together to create the capability required to go in and bring Maduro out so that he can face justice in the U.S. court system.
Oh, it's fantastic. I was amazed by it. And immediately, the price of oil goes down, which is great for the global economy.
Sure. It is interesting to see. And I think what we're going to see is more of the same as we've cut the head of the snake off, so to speak, right now, right? Maduro's out. And we saw a great uprising, I think, of support from the Venezuelan people for the fact that this very repressive regime had now lost its leader, who had been very brutal over a number of years. But now that the head of the snake is gone, the snake is still moving around a little bit.
There's other snakes.
The question becomes, right, who fills the void? Nature abhors a vacuum. And what does that mean for all of this incredible capacity that Venezuela has from an energy standpoint?
Well, it's to me most interesting to see that the importance of technology, the importance of AI and those NVIDIA chips and the whole infrastructure. What have you learned from the use of technology?
Well, it's fascinating. Certainly in the military, we're leveraging to the degree that we can. And I will tell you that based on my observations as a retiree now, the Trump administration and the Hegseth Department have put out several different executive orders and memorandums about leveraging AI to increase and enhance our defense comparative advantage against our competitors out there, principally China, and that's who we're in competition with. And so you're going to see that on the military side as we move forward in all aspects of our military hardware and all aspects of employing military capability, but also technology. You take a look at Venezuela now, for instance. They've got this aging infrastructure and oil, and we've had American companies out of there, with the possible exception of some Chevron presence, for the last 2 decades nearly. There is great opportunity to bring in technology to kind of refurbish and revitalize that oil sector in Venezuela.
They also have about 17 gigawatts of electricity,
Amazing.
A lot of hydro,
Yeah.
And it's dilapidated. And it's running at 25% capacity. So there's also a huge upside for Hive is to take a look at when there's real social stability and legal stability there, the energy component. But things have also happened in Paraguay recently.
Absolutely.
And what is the significance of the SOFA?
Well, I think anytime we see a status of forces agreement, a SOFA, which is really kind of a bilateral agreement between the United States and another country where we might be doing joint military operations. It's a significant statement of faith and confidence in the relationship. And what it does is it really assures that if we send U.S. service members into Paraguay under the auspices of doing an operation somewhere, should we have a problem, should a U.S. service member do something that might violate the sovereignty or the law of Paraguay, instead of being subject to Paraguayan law and justice, they will be handed back to the United States military, who will handle it, I will tell you, very quickly, as we do in other places. Right. But when you think about a SOFA, think about the places where we have SOFAs: Germany, wow, Italy, Japan, some of our oldest allies, South Korea, where we have significant military presence. So the fact that Paraguay now has a SOFA with the United States, pretty big deal.
Well, that's great. And what do you also see now with this world we have? Is it sort of a slowdown of the aggression of China and Putin? Do you think it sort of makes them as a reset button?
It's interesting, Frank. When you think about aggression, you've got kind of this active aggression, which manifests itself the way we've seen Russia do in the Ukraine over the last 3 years, and to a certain degree with Iran in Israel and Hamas attack into Israel. That's aggression. But there's also this very supplanted passive aggression that you see, that we see China is frankly guilty of across the Asian continent as they are seeking to suppress and supplant, economic systems to create advantage for themselves. They've tried to do the same thing in South America, and they have been successful to a great degree for many years. We've seen access and placement for not just China, but Russia and Iran as well in Venezuela that has hurt U.S. interests, and frankly, it's hurt the interests of Central and South American people as well. So if we can roll that back, that aggression, I think that'll be positive for not just the U.S. economy, but for world economies.
We went in to get bin Laden.
Right.
Obama was in charge.
He was.
But immediately the Republicans said, Congress, you should have told us first.
Right.
And we're having the same thing now. Trump, you should have.
We are.
It's just normal.
It is. It's the normal state of things. And certainly, I think Osama bin Laden was much more of a pariah, and there was much more universal acceptance of that operation. But we, to a certain degree, violated the sovereignty of Pakistan to go and do this because it was in our national interest to do so. Now we have Nicolas Maduro, who we know is the illegitimate, self-appointed leader in Venezuela. He's under indictment in U.S. courts. There's a $25 million bounty on his head, by the way, which was put there by the former president. We go in and bring him out. We don't kill him. We bring him out to face justice. And you're always going to see people that don't believe that's the right thing to do, but this happens on both sides of the political aisle.
Now, the military is now going to increase their spending. We're seeing NATO they're going up to 5%, which is really quite significant now. And America's going to 1.5 trillion.
By the time you think of all the inputs that are going to go in there, it's going to be in that range. I think what you're going to see is a defense budget once we get an appropriation of just shy of $1 trillion. And that's significant, huge amount of money, and far and away the largest portion of our discretionary budget.
Now, do you think Trump yesterday basically went to push to hold the big five defense companies accountable and responsible to move faster, and because China is moving very fast, and they're ahead of us in manufacturing volumes of drones and etc. Their Navy's bigger, not as good quality, but it's bigger,
and they're building it quickly. At twice or three times the rate that we are for our Navy. Yeah.
And he threatened yesterday that he was going to cut their dividends and stop stock buybacks, and unless they change their act. Do you think that will help change their attitude?
Well, always the negotiator. President Trump is looking for ways to leverage U.S. Initiative and U.S. Economic power to the benefit of our country. Certainly none of us, we're all capitalists here, none of us take any umbrance with the fact that the big OEMs out there that make our equipment, our original equipment manufacturers, want to share profits with their shareholders, and they want to be profitable as a business. But we've got to move faster. And I think what President Trump is doing is he's sending a shot across the bow that, hey, all the big dogs that are out there, you're moving too slow, and we're not moving at the speed of war or possible war, and that could cost us if we find ourselves in a big conflict.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your insights.
Great to be here, man. Thanks a lot.